evening and welcome. Tonight we will be going over the history and geography of Antioquia in Colombia. A personal note though, this area seems a little special to me and my family. I live with my sister and her husband. We all grew up in a town in California called Antioch. And I first met my brother-in-law. He was my French TA at Antioch High School. So, just a little region named Antioch. I feel a little connection there. Even though all three of us low-key hate that city now. It's kind of trash nowadays. Antioquia is not. Antioquia in Colombia is beautiful. It is located in one of the more beautiful areas of Colombia within the Andes mountain range. Now in Colombia, the Andes forks into three different chains of mountains, and the one that cuts right through the area here is the Cordillera Central. It kind of forks away up here at one point. But this is definitely the dominant mountain chain here. And right in the middle of the district is a huge valley, and that's where the city of Medellin is located. Now, Medellin is how we say it in American English. It's not how they pronounce it in Colombia. I'm not going to try to embarrass myself. But the Spanish spoken here in Antioquia is a bit different from Spanish spoken in other parts of Colombia and South America, and I'll explain why that is during its history. For example, in Spanish, double L would be a Y sound, and it's more of a J sound here. But in English, it's an L sound. So this area is extremely mountainous, covered in beautiful jungles and waterfalls and all kinds of life. Colombia is one of those extremely biodiverse countries. All kinds of various plants and animals. As we move up here, it gets away from the mountains and enters the Darian area. The Darian Gap is mostly in Panama, but it bleeds over into Colombia. It's an area that is very difficult to penetrate through. There's no roads that go through it. If you want to go through it, you have to hike, and that's extremely discouraged. It's not safe whatsoever. But this area here kind of reaches into the southern area of the Darian Gap. It doesn't actually border Panama. It just barely misses. It's here, though, that there is a beautiful park called Catios, which is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. So let me grab my tablet. I think it's upside down. Yep. But it's right side up for you guys. There we go. No. Of course, as I'm trying to slide my tablet over, my thumb hits something and it closes everything. So I got it back up here for you. Los Catios National Park. And it says, extending over 72,000 hectares in northwestern Colombia, Los Catios National Park comprises low hills, forests, and humid plains. An exceptional biological diversity is found in the park, which is home to many threatened animal species as well as many endemic plants. Let's look at some pictures here. Gorgeous waterfalls, of course. There is kind of a marshy area to the north of it. I'll show you on Google Earth. But very thick, beautiful rainforest jungle. So there's that. And then Antioquia has this really cool, technically Caribbean coastline, but don't get it twisted. It's not like it's beaches and all kind of like Caribbean flair. There's no like reggae steel drums, anything like that. It's a very like mangrovey kind of swampy kind of beach. So it's a Caribbean coast, but without the Caribbean culture, I suppose. But we'll take a look at it on Google Earth too. Let me check my notes, see what I missed. I think I got everything I needed to talk about. Yeah, pretty much. Let's get into the history. So many indigenous cultures lived in this area for many, many, many hundreds of years, if not thousands and thousands of years. The dominant ones were the Muisca, which would be the north. They're more of a, like, they're more associated with Panama. So they're in like this area here. In the south, we have the Quimbaya. And pretty much everywhere else, there are various different Carib people. Now, if you've seen enough of my videos, you know what's coming. We talk about the Caribs, because the Spanish would have arrived in what's now Antioquia in 1500. What do you think happened when they encountered the Caribs? You guessed it. Conflict. The Caribs were extremely violent people. If you looked at them the wrong way, it's all over. So imagine the Spanish coming in being like, oh, we're taking, this is ours now. It went down with the Caribs. But we all know what happened at the end with the Spanish here in this corner of the continent, this corner of the world. Many indigenous peoples succumbed to European diseases. They had no immunity to. Some of them were just straight out slaughtered by the Spanish. Very few of them were actually absorbed into the culture. Most people in this region fled to other areas of Colombia. So the population dipped in a big, major way. But that did not really stop the Spanish from coming through and founding towns. Medellin would have been established in 1541, and many towns here along the Medellin River would have been established around that time. Most of these towns, though, were up in the mountains, and it was pretty hard to get supplies to those places, so Medellin flourished more than the others because it was in that beautiful valley. Easier to get to a valley than to go up high into the mountains to find settlements. But what's interesting about this place, if you're still wondering why the language is a little different, is that the majority of the Spanish that migrated here were Basque. Basque is a region in northeastern Spain, very near the French border, where Basque is its own language, its own culture, its own thing. They've even been trying to push for independence for many years now from Spain. So the Basque language came over here, mixed with other Spanish languages from other Spanish immigrants who came from other corners of Spain. Lots of people from the Canary Islands came here too, and created its own dialect. So I think that's pretty cool. There's 3 things that this region is known for, and all I wrote down on my notes was conflicts, coffee, cocaine. So let's go through the number 1 conflicts. Many of Colombia's disagreements, internal disagreements, civil wars, uprisings, etc., would have played out in Medellin. Lots of battles and violence and riots, things like that, peppered throughout its history up into the mid-20th century. Coffee was a major export here. It's, from what I can tell, still the predominant crop that's grown in the region and brought in lots and lots of money to the area. And then, of course, you can't mention Medellin without talking about the cartels. Fingers crossed that I don't say enough boo-boo words to get me demonetized, but Medellin is where Pablo Escobar was from, and one of the main points that he operated out of, transporting illegal substances up to America and other parts of the world, becoming insanely wealthy and creating a culture of crime in Medellin. How do I say this? Just, you can imagine, is a town essentially run by the cartel. And it was a very, very dangerous place to be. It was one of the cities that had the highest crime rates in like the 1990s, 2000s. Now, thankfully, now that that chapter is closed for the most part, not 100%, but for the most part, Medellin's now a beautiful, bustling city with all kinds of culture and museums and festivals. It's now considered a very safe city to be in. Not 100%, because most cities aren't 100% safe, but much, 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 much safer than it was, let's say, like 20 years ago, right? But anyway, that is the history of Antioquia. Let's dive into Google Earth and explore this beautiful place. I suppose that's one thing that Antioch, California has in common with Antioquia's history. That illicit substances are rampant, let's say. Probably more in Antioch, California than the rest of Antioquia. So, let's start off at the, of course I dropped a pin by accident. I had Catios on here. Then of course I closed everything. Let's bring it back. So here's where it's located down here. Just north of it is this huge bay, this huge inland body of water. And as you can tell here, it is so thick and swampy, right? My goodness. It's like, I thought it was like a marsh until I zoomed out and was like, oh, it's a bay. Like, it's seawater mixing with the river water, all the mangroves and things. But down here is the park, and look how beautiful it is. There's the beautiful waterfalls, of course, that we saw before. Very swampy. And just a really good snapshot of the beautiful landscapes you can find in Antioquia. The river flowing through. Look at that. The Andes Mountains, right? Beautiful bird. Another beautiful bird. And look how pristine. The clouds and the water reflecting. It's so pretty. Let's start on the coast, actually. Let me show you that before we get into the heart of the country. I found something cool I want to show you up here. In this town over here. Look at this. A mud volcano. And apparently people swim in it and get all muddy. Look at that. I bet it feels incredible on your skin. And I bet it does amazing things for your skin too. Look at that. It looks like so much fun in the mud volcano. Cute. But yeah, this is what the beach looks like, right? Oh my gosh. Yeah, that would be me for sure. But what's interesting about this coastline, look how like man-made it is. All down here. Look at all these. I assume places to dock your boats. Little boardwalks. Very efficient. I like that. But that's the coolest thing I found on the shore to show you. Let's head into Medellin. Oh, you know what? Let me zoom out first, because I want to show you the mountain range. mountain ranges. Right? So here you can see the Andes Mountains. They head up the coast, and then up here you can see it start to fork off into these big mountain ranges. So Medellin is right here in this huge valley in the mountains. Now there's lots to see here. Let me pick out to remember what I wanted to show you, because there's lots of things to show you. This is really cool. Pueblito. So there's lots of little towns all throughout Antioquia called pueblos, which is a town that's pretty much centered around a church or a mission. It would have been back then. But there's lots of little pueblitos in Medellin. So you can see what those towns look like while you're in the big city. So it's very Spanish style, very colorful. Some cool statues there of indigenous looking art. And of course you have your central church area. And a cobblestone boulevard here, courtyard around the church. I love Medellin. A little model there of what the city probably looked like. A pretty fountain. So yeah, there's a couple of these in Medellin. How neat is that? Let's see. I have to show you here, Comuna Teresa, I believe it is. Oh, Comuna Teresa, right? Teresa 13. Commune 13 is considered one of the poorer corners of Medellin. And it has turned into a tourist spot because it's one of the more authentic, well, they also built this huge escalator to get up one of the hills. One of the more authentic cultural places in Medellin. So you can see the real, heartbeat of the city. Apparently it's turned into a huge, touristy kind of trap place. It reminds me in San Francisco of, Fisherman's Wharf. How it's very authentic, but it's very catered to tourists nowadays. But it's apparently one of those must-visit places. Let's see if there's any better slideshows. Maybe this one. Yeah. Just kind of see what it looks like from above. And most of the walls have all these beautiful, colorful arts, staircases, and it's all very, authentic and real, from what I can tell. There's the escalator to get there. So you're not dying trying to climb up these hills to get there. Let's see, let me find the river so that I can show you a really beautiful place. That's the airport. Over here, that's the river. Nothing's popping up. Hello, Google, please. Only does this when I'm filming. Literally only does this when I'm filming. Let me see. Let me see here. I need to show you this really beautiful park, but where'd it go? Alright, I'm gonna cut here so I can find it for you. Alright, I found it. I was looking all up here. It's down here. So it is the River Park, Parque del Rio, Medellin. And it's this slideshow I want to show you. You can see it's on both sides of the river, but it's this slideshow I want to show you. Because during the holiday season, this park has some of the most incredible holiday light displays in the world. It is lit up of all kinds, even Encanto themed, because Encanto takes place in a pueblo town in Colombia. So very appropriate. But yeah, the entire park becomes a beautiful wonderland of lights and colors of all kinds. It's so pretty. show you. I think it's... This city is just so huge. I lose everything. I'm leaning away from my mic, so that's why I sound different. I might just type it in because I'm going to get lost. I'm going to type it in. Alright, I've typed it. And I found it. So we are over here by the river. We're heading over here to Botero Plaza. Because the city is also home to probably the most famous Colombian artist. Of course, I now lost it. I tapped something wrong and now it's gone. Let's look at the museum, because the museum has a lot of his paintings. This is the art of Francisco Botero, who painted people and things very chonky, very thick people and objects. That's a monkey. Pretty museum too. Look at that. It's just everything is like bloated in his artwork, and it's like, my goodness, there's lots of cool art. Here we go. Very stylistic of the country, apparently. He's a very, very beloved artist. And this park is full of these statues of his. See, look, here's like a tea set. It's a mate, but it's all inflated. Everything's just very big. Look at the cool bust. Here we go. Piazza Botero. So let's look at some of his sculptures. Yeah, all kinds. Mostly human figures, it looks like in this park, but some animals too. And it's all very interesting. Look at this dog. Everyone's so chonky. But that was his style. Look at, even like just this hand. Extra thick. One last thing to show you in Medellin, we can't not look at it, is the Papo Escobar Museum, where you can see a lot of his possessions, mostly cars, of course. There's his airplane, his old jet, a jet ski, and lots of what were at the time very fancy cars. Except this one, saw some better days. It's all shot up. That would have been the original car, I assume. There's this airplane up there. A Vesna, is that what it's called? Some photos here. There's his mugshot, very famous picture. Little moped, motorbike. Giving him a fist bump, my goodness. But yeah, you can't not look at the Papo Escobar Museum while you're here. See lots of his possessions, lots of tires. But yeah, you can't not. Oof. My goodness. Alright, but we're going to end this video on a much better note. So, out of all of the little towns that you can see popping up here, there's one that came up on every single tourist thing that I saw. And I'm not going to be able to find it, of course, because that's just the theme of this video. I thought it was like down here somewhere. Let's see. Goodness, I can't find anything. And again, I do practice this beforehand. I think it's just Google Earth's fault. Things just don't appear when I need them to. Alright, I found it because I was upside down looking over here. It's over here. It is called Jerico. And again, from what every tourist video website, everything says, this is like one of the more beautiful little tiny pueblo towns in Antioquia. You can see the beautiful Spanish architecture here. So I'm going to close out in this slideshow. I do encourage you to go on Google Earth yourself and explore this beautiful area, because there are lots of really pretty nature slideshows on all the mountains that you can explore. But thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this style of content, please consider subscribing. This is an ongoing series on my channel, and next we're going to go a bit south to Chile to explore some of the wonders there. Be sure to subscribe so you won't miss out. I hope that you found this video relaxing and educational, and I hope that you